And we begin with a weather impact alert as a heat advisory takes effect in just a few hours. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday morning at 6 a.m. I'm Vanessa Paz.
And I'm Neda Irampur. We do have team coverage for you. News 8's Tori Apodaca with ways to stay safe in this heat. But we do want to start with meteorologist Evan Narani. This is going to be a long-term kind of thing, right?
Yeah, we had it to the end of last week, and then over the weekend, we got a little bit of a cool down as winds shifted back onshore. That was only a brief stretch, and it did bring a wonderful weekend. But now we've got another full week of very hot temperatures. Heat-related alerts, a heat advisory for the most part, in play all the way through Friday. Along the coast, low 80s, inland valleys, low 90s, and those clouds will slowly be kicked off the coast each day, especially toward each afternoon. We do have a cool down by the weekend, but we have to get through an entire Monday through Friday stretch of that high heat. Out the door right now, the haze that we had over the weekend is slowly being pushed off the coast. A pretty clear start to our Monday here. As always, you can find an extended weather forecast over on the CBS 8 app. You can stream now for free. This morning, county officials are urging San Diegans to take precautions as we deal with extreme heat. CBS News 8's Tori Apodaca is live at Cowles Mountain with some important reminders. Tori?
Hi, good morning to you, Evan. Yeah, it's already a full parking lot here as a lot of people are trying to beat the heat and get in their hikes before the sun even comes up. Of course, that heat advisory going into effect at 10 this morning. So really a wise decision to get an early start on this Monday. Of course, though, as we know, Cowles Mountain really is such a popular hiking spot for people, but it's also almost all in direct sunlight as you make that climb. So it's why it's just so important to go in with a plan, starting with the time of day that you head out, trying to hike early or late in the day. During a heat wave, elderly people, children and infants, people with health concerns, and people who work or exercise outdoors are really most at risk for heat-related illnesses. So you'll want to look out for any signs like headaches, dizziness, or heavy sweating. And here are some reminders on how to prevent heat stroke if you are going to be hiking this week. You're going to want to hydrate, drink water before, during, and after hiking. Park rangers recommending carrying 1 liter of water for every 2 to 3 miles. You'll also want to print out a map of the trail so you won't get disoriented if things do start to heat up. Also dress in layers of breathable, light-colored, loose-fitting clothes to really prevent any sunburns. And then don't go out alone. Let someone know where you will be and when you plan to return. It's also wise to bring a backpack and pack some extra snacks, some water, some sunscreen, maybe even a first aid kit. And 2, if you are able to avoid a hike that has direct sunlight, that's really best. Find something with some shade or even choose to go out by the coast. In Cowles Mountain, Tori Apodaca, News 8.
Thank you, Tori. A proposal to lower speed limits on some of San Diego's streets is heading to a vote this morning.
News 8's Chris Groh live on Camino del Rio South to tell us what's being considered. Chris, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Reducing speed limits on about 20% of San Diego streets. That is a huge number to be doing all at once. But both safety advocates and those city leaders that are for this say that it is worthwhile to try to save lives. Camino del Rio South, this has been a problem area. We saw a tragic accident occur back in 2021. That's why this ghost bike is right here behind me. Also, if you remember recently, an 11-year-old boy killed on Jackson Drive in San Carlos. That is also a street that has been identified. Andrew Olson, last October, hit and killed on his way to school. Those advocates and city leaders pushing for this say that this could help save lives by lowering speed limits by as little as 5 miles per hour. They want to focus on high crash rates and heavy pedestrian or bike traffic streets. This could include streets in business districts, school zones, and others. If approved, we could see this take place within the next year, starting with school zones. We spoke with safety advocate Laura Keenan. Her husband was the one that was hit and killed on Camino del Rio South while riding his bike to a movie theater in 2021, leaving behind Laura and their son. She now fights to prevent more tragedies.
He was doing everything right. He was in the bike lane, and a wrong-way driver crossed into his bike lane and hit him head-on. And she was going at least 35 miles per hour. And statistics show that had she been going just 5 miles per hour slower, he likely would be alive today. We know that every mile per hour really matters. And so that's the reason I'm sharing my story.
And again, this is possible because of a change in state law that allows for cities to have a little bit more control over the designated speed limits on city streets, something that will be taken up later today. Back to you guys in studio.
Chris, thank you for that. The Trump administration getting ready to send as many as 5,000 additional sailors and Marines to the Middle East amid the war with Iran. President Trump says Iran wants to talk, but Iranian officials tell CBS News they have never asked for negotiations.
We never asked for a ceasefire, and we have never asked even for negotiation. We are ready to defend ourselves as long as it takes.
Over the weekend, the Defense Department also released the names of the 6 U.S. service members killed last week in a fuel tanker crash in western Iraq. The president is also lashing out at U.S. news agencies for their coverage of the war. Federal Communications Commission Chair Brendan Carr is accusing broadcasters of, quote, running hoaxes and news distortions, and is threatening to review broadcast TV licenses when they come up for renewal. This week, nations will begin releasing millions of barrels of oil from their strategic reserves to combat rising fuel prices. The global benchmark for oil once again above $100 per barrel. That's as of this morning. Here in San Diego County, look at this. The average gallon of regular $5.58. Yeah, quite a spike, up 13 cents from Friday and 91 cents higher now than before the war began.
Meanwhile, California is planning to challenge a new order from the Department of Energy to restart the Santa Ynez offshore oil pipeline. Officials say the site could produce about 50,000 barrels of oil a day, boosting California's in-state production by roughly 15%. Governor Gavin Newsom blasted the move, warning it violates court orders and threatens the coastal environment. All right, well, as we deal with heat, a massive storm system is sweeping across the eastern U.S. The Midwest and Great Lakes were slammed with heavy snow over the weekend. The severe weather is also pushing out east, with millions of people facing an increasingly severe thunderstorm and tornado risk. And over in Hawaii, people are dealing with the aftermath of a powerful storm, which caused flooding from Oahu to the Big Island.
Wow. Meanwhile, we have a giant ridge of high pressure that will not leave.
Not going anywhere. No, I know.
Yeah.
Quite the opposite problem on hand. In fact, sadly, our water year numbers that were at a surplus for almost the entirety of the water year so far are now in the red. So almost across the board, we're below where we would like to be on our water year at this point. That's because it has almost been a full month since we've recorded any major precipitation. It will be in about a week, that full month stretch. And that means that we're due for some sort of storm, but none in the forecast. Right now, Monday through Friday, today through Friday, we're holding on to that high heat. Take a look at current temperatures out the door. This is where things are more mild in the 50s, but warming up really quickly each afternoon. A heat advisory extends from the international border all the way up through northern California. For San Diego, it includes our local coastline as well as our inland valleys, stretching all the way out east to Ramona, almost to Julian. But Julian, our mountains, our deserts, they're going to start to see their hottest temperatures come about as we get toward about Thursday and Friday. The 10-day temperature trend in El Cajon shows that temperatures will stay in the 90s each afternoon all the way through Friday, and then start that gradual cool down through the upcoming weekend and into early next week. 97 degrees tomorrow afternoon, and then take a look at that top right corner. Average afternoon high in El Cajon and in Ramona, a lot of our eastern valleys, is 68 degrees. So we're going to be about 29 degrees above average by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon. That's why we are talking breaking records, not only on our daily temperature records, so each day we set temperature records that are recorded for centuries, but this March specifically, it looks like we could be breaking March records, meaning the hottest March we've ever seen in San Diego County and really across the southwestern U.S. Other parts of the country, not even close to where we are. Look at Denver, Colorado, 37. Lincoln, Nebraska, 14 degrees. Minneapolis, 2 degrees. These parts of the country are going to start to see that heat arrive going into the end of the week and the weekend. As the ridge is currently situated just off the coast, it's going to keep pushing east as the week progresses. Let's check in on traffic. Right now, road conditions are relatively mild as volume is still pretty light. Coronado Bridge starting to see some higher impacts, at least related to more people, more volume arriving onto the bridge. We have an overturned crash. There was a vehicle that looked like it may have lost control on the off-ramp in National City. This is the 5 northbound to Main and Division, not causing any major delays as it is pushed over the right-hand shoulder. We haven't been told that anyone was injured in that rollover. There is an accident also on the right shoulder in Oceanside. This is on the 78 westbound at the 5 freeway. Also not causing any major backups right now as volume is still pretty light for the 5 o'clock hour and now early 6 o'clock hour. We'll let you know when CHP clears this, but it looks like it should be anytime now. As far as border wait times go, getting across the border right now, it is going to take you quite a bit of time. San Ysidro Port of Entry, 170 minutes right now, well over 2 hours, almost 3 hours. Otay Mesa Port of Entry should run you about an hour 40 in total. Ned and Vanessa.
Wow, what a wait. Okay, thank you, Evan. Still had a movie filmed in San Diego wins Best Picture.
That's right. We'll have highlights from the Oscars coming up next.